What if every choice you make isn't just an action, but a fork in the road, one that gives birth to a new version of yourself?
And what if, somewhere close, a you who made a different decision is living a completely different life? What if those other versions of you are not silent at all? In a world where we assume time moves in a straight line and choices are final, there lies a deeper idea. Your identity is not singular. You are more like a branching tree.
Each branch grown from a path you could have taken but didn't.
And when you feel doubt, a strange sense of familiarity, or an unexplainable inner nudge, maybe it's not random emotion, but faint echoes from another you, living a different life. This isn't fantasy or mystical folklore, it's the intersection of science and spirit. Quantum physicists like Hugh Everett and Niels Bohr propose that particles, and by extension reality, can exist in multiple states at once. That means there may be countless versions of you, each living out a separate timeline, simultaneously. But what if these realities aren't completely sealed off from each other? What if fleeting sensations, gut feelings, and déjà vu are subtle transmissions from your parallel selves? Maybe they're watching you the way you look at your younger self, not judging, but quietly offering guidance, through coincidences, through dreams, through intuition. Think about it. Why do you sometimes wake up feeling like you were somewhere else? Why do you experience moments that feel strangely familiar, even though they shouldn't? In philosophy, this has long fascinated thinkers. Arthur Schopenhauer believed that repetition was a disguised form of intuition, not recalling the past, but sensing something existing in another dimension, running in parallel. History supports this idea. Take Nikola Tesla. He often claimed that his inventions came to him as fully formed visions, flashes from another world. He didn't invent, he remembered. Or Leonardo da Vinci, who once wrote that he felt as if he were observing another self making different choices. They didn't need a scientific framework, they simply felt it. Perhaps genius isn't always innate. Perhaps it's the ability to tune in to the version of yourself that already knows. And through this connection, ideas, insights, and breakthroughs flow into your present mind. Genius, then, is not always a gift, but a frequency. When we encounter deep intuition, we tend to silence it with logic, but not everything must be explained. Maybe our minds are only receivers. The true signal comes from beyond our perception. And if we learn to listen more often, we'd act differently, with more clarity, more peace. This isn't a mystical tale, it's a lens through which to see the multi-layered reality within us. And perhaps, a way to learn how to hear what we've always been too distracted to notice. Sometimes you notice the same number following you everywhere, on clocks, receipts, videos, or a particular word that begins to echo through conversations with different people, as if it had been sewn into your day beforehand. Maybe you think of someone, and a moment later they message you. Strange? Maybe. But strangeness is often just the name we give to things we haven't yet understood. The universe doesn't speak in sentences. It speaks in hints, subtle vibrations of meaning that only a quiet, tuned-in mind can hear. Coincidences that are too precise to be accidents. What we call synchronicity is, in truth, a form of language. A language spoken between overlapping versions of you, moving along different timelines, brushing against each other through sensation and symbols. Carl Jung described synchronicity as more than chance, as a reflection of an underlying connection between an external event and an internal state. It's as if the universe, or another version of you, is trying to draw your attention to something vital, something timely. This isn't mysticism, it's a deeper framework, where meaning is conveyed not through logic, but through repetition, rhythm, and heightened awareness. Take Steve Jobs. His path wasn't straightforward. He dropped out of college, yet continued attending classes that intrigued him. One such course, calligraphy, would later influence the design of the first Apple computers. At the time, it seemed pointless, but later, It formed part of a bigger pattern. Jobs famously said, "You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backward." He didn't know, he felt, and he followed that feeling. This is the essence of tuning in to alternate versions of yourself. You don't get instructions, you get signals, subtle but persistent. And the more you trust them, the more visible they become. It's like tuning a radio, first static, then a trembling voice, and eventually, clarity. Most people dismiss these signs because they've been conditioned to believe only in what can be touched. But you can't grab the wind, and yet it moves the sails. It's often those who notice the subtleties who not only shift their lives, but alter the world itself. These signals may come unexpectedly. A song you haven't heard in years suddenly playing, perfectly matching your emotional state. A symbol that keeps appearing. A stranger's face that inexplicably captures your attention. These fragments are like encrypted messages, flashes from another life intersecting with yours. And in these moments, you find yourself standing at a threshold between what is and what could be. And you're given a choice, not through pressure, but suggestion. If you notice, you step forward. If you ignore it, the moment repeats. Sometimes the feeling is so strong you can't turn away, as if someone inside you is whispering, "Not this way," or "Call now," or "Wait." But that voice isn't someone within you. It's you, the version of you who already walked the path you're only now approaching. The one who has already made that choice, now nudging you forward. It doesn't mean you must act blindly. It means you must pay attention. Learn to read the clues, even if they defy logic. Because logic is built on past experience, while intuition draws from a wider field. And synchronicity, it bridges the two. Eventually, you begin to notice something. Your life feels more in tune, less noise, more inner resonance. It's like you're no longer walking on a path, but balancing on a string, and each step rings like a chord. That's alignment, not absolute, but refined enough to hear another version of yourself singing through the silence. Have you ever woken up with the feeling that you had just lived an entirely different life? As if the place you visited in your dream was too vivid, too detailed to be just fantasy. Faces you don't recognize in waking life, yet somehow feel deeply connected to. Cities you've never seen, but know every turn as if they were once home. Dreams that don't leave a trace, they leave a scar. Maybe it wasn't just imagination. Maybe you were really there, not as a stranger, but as another you. Dreams are more than subconscious processing. They are territories where the rules of the waking world begin to loosen, where the borders between realities grow thin. If, during the day, you catch faint signals from alternate paths through feelings and synchronicities, then at night you may actually step into them, through the gateway of sleep. Who do you become in your dreams? Confident, calm, bold, or anxious, lost, fragile? This isn't just psychology. It's a reflection of your other selves. In some dreams, you don't realize you're living a different version of yourself, not until you wake up and feel you were shown something important. One of your parallel selves may want you to witness their life, not for entertainment, but as a warning or a map. Friedrich Nietzsche, often quoted for his cold logic, once confessed in a letter, "My dreams speak to me more clearly than the entire noise of the waking world." He saw in dreams the seeds of ideas that later became his greatest insights. They didn't appear on the page, they came from the layered shadows of night. There's a special kind of dream, lucid dreaming, where you become aware that you're asleep, but choose to remain. You can move, explore, decide. It becomes a direct line between your waking mind and another field of perception. These dreams are precious because within them you can ask a question, and another version of yourself might answer. One man, having lost his business and sense of purpose, told of a recurring dream. In it, he was a teacher in a quiet rural school, poor but fulfilled. He felt the love of his students, the peace of nature, the honesty of a simple life. He didn't just see it, he lived it. This dream nudged him to leave the city, start over in a village, and live more slowly, more truly. He said he never would have made that change if he hadn't felt the man he could be. And that man was him, just along another thread of destiny. Dreams are not illusions. They are messages encrypted in imagery, sometimes unsettling, sometimes comforting, but almost always meaningful. If you learn to wake and ask, "What was I being shown?" you'll open a dialogue that runs beneath the surface of your everyday awareness. Write your dreams down. Don't rush to analyze, just preserve. Over time, you'll start to see patterns, images that return, people you don't know yet, feel familiar. These are not random. These are connections, echoes of the versions of you that are trying to remind you, you still have choices. Sleep isn't an escape, it's a bridge. And perhaps the clearest guidance doesn't come during the noisy hours of the day, but in the quiet moments when you finally know how to listen. Sometimes you walk down a street you've traveled 100 times before, and suddenly you feel it. Something's wrong. A tree seems slightly out of place, the faces around you look subtly altered, and the air feels heavier, denser, a vague, elusive sensation of a shift. The world looks the same, but there's a crack in it, and you are standing inside that crack. It's not hallucination, not fatigue, not stress. It's a state of displacement, a moment when your energy brushes against a different frequency, another you, another line of reality. This phenomenon is called by many names: temporal dissonance, reality slip, cognitive disorientation. But if you look deeper, you'll realize it's a reminder. You are not just one story. You are a web of stories, and sometimes another thread bleeds into your current life. These moments are not to be feared, they are to be heard. The feeling of misalignment is like a glitch in the system. You are here, but not fully anchored. One more step, and you feel like you're starring in someone else's movie, with your face, but not your soul. It's a signal that somewhere your energy has chosen a different path, and you're hovering on the threshold. A voice inside you whispers, "This isn't your road. You've veered. You're not on your true frequency." Psychologist Carl Pribram, who developed the holographic model of consciousness, suggested that perception isn't solely formed by external stimuli, but by inner calibration. If consciousness is a hologram, then each fragment contains information about the whole. That means at any moment, you can sense a shift within your broader system if one of its projections changes course. Look at Bob Dylan. At a crucial point in his career, he drastically shifted his musical style, moving from folk acoustic to electric rock, angering and confusing much of his audience. Critics said he had lost his way, but Dylan felt otherwise. He said, "I just followed the feeling that the old me was no longer me." And he was right. This change of frequency opened a new, deeper dimension to his creativity and influence. Sometimes this vibrational shift shows up differently. You suddenly find yourself interested in topics you once ignored. You change your roots, your habits, your way of speaking. You can't explain it. You simply can't do otherwise. It's like an energetic update. A version of you who has already stepped into a new phase begins influencing your current thoughts, behaviors, even tastes. But there's a flip side. If you ignore these signals, if you fail to notice the shifts or resist them, internal friction builds up. Life begins to feel heavy, repetitive, alien, as if you're stuck living a life that no longer fits you. That's a sign. It's time to recalibrate. It's time to seek your true wave again. To realign, you can't force yourself through logic. You must return to your body. Notice your sensations. Simple practices, silence, movement, nature, breathing, help you tune back into your own frequency. It's like tuning an instrument. You can't play tomorrow's music if you vibrate with yesterday's resonance. When you consciously engage with these moments of misalignment, they transform from unsettling disruptions into powerful turning points. moments where you can not only change your direction, but move closer to the version of yourself already living in alignment and authenticity. You look into the mirror, but your gaze is different now. It's not the look of self-judgment or routine. It's as if someone else is looking back through you, someone you could have been, someone you may already be becoming. All the things you felt, déjà vu, dreams, sudden urges, moments of disconnection, they're no longer fragments. The pieces begin to align, and you realize you've never been alone. Every thought, every emotion, every quiet yes or no, it's a frequency, a signal. You don't just react to the world, you tune it. And the frequency you emit determines which version of yourself you move toward. There is a version of you who lives in fear and hesitation, and there's another who has found their voice, their rhythm, their inner power. The only thing separating them is the vibration you choose to live on. This isn't magic, it's choice. You've already felt it, the way reality responds to your energy, how clarity follows gratitude, how support appears when you act in spite of fear. This is what alignment feels like, entering the timeline where what you desire already exists. And the purer your energy, the stronger the signal. Stephen Hawking once said, "Every step into the future begins with an act of awareness." He didn't believe in destiny as a fixed point. He believed in possibilities, that we can generate new outcomes through conscious decisions. His life proved that. A man confined physically, yet freer in thought than most. Because he didn't live through his body, he lived through direction, frequency, choice. Your frequency isn't just a feeling, it's a way of being. It's how you wake up, how you breathe, speak, forgive, express gratitude. It's how you respond to pain, how you transform fear. Every choice becomes energy, and every energetic state brings you closer to one of your infinite selves. When you begin to notice the signs, you begin to awaken. When you follow them, you begin to live. You become the director, no longer just the actor. You stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start asking, "Where is this taking me?" And it takes you to a version of yourself where everything feels aligned, where you stop chasing answers and start becoming them. This is no longer theory, it's a lived experience, a daily practice of tuning in, staying honest, remaining present, and choosing love. Right now, you can ask yourself, which version of me am I aligning with today? Every action, even this very moment, is a step toward disconnection, or toward reunion with your highest self. And only you decide which way to go. So listen, notice, feel, meditate. Transformation. Because you are the only one who can walk into the life that's already waiting for you, on another frequency. If this story resonated with you, don't stay silent. Leave a comment below. What spoke to you? What signs have you seen in your life? And subscribe to the channel if you want more content like this, deep, awakening, and filled with meaning. Remember, your reality is you, and it all begins with one conscious choice.